A riverine flood is a very common phenomena in India, so whether it is the Kosi River or Brahmaputra River.
Monsoon means what? The average amount of rainfall started increasing, more enhanced by the human factors. The mismanagement happened. Where the natural rivers cannot manage the flow of the water, therefore the spilling of the water happens.
In urban areas, so particularly we need to continuously monitor the water levels. So whether it is a lake or a river, Odisha has done wonderful job in managing the cyclone impact. Okay, so that kind of best practices have to be replicated.
Where you can find the water percolation, percolating pavements are there. Then you can find some of the areas where you can see the roads are also percolating the water.
So there is a very famous quote in this context: "The river forgot its bank to remember its power."
Things we need to first of all give the respect to the nature. When the man is not paying respect to the nature, obviously nature also won't respect the man.
Hello and welcome to this particular episode of The Perspectives. Not even a month ago, the state of Punjab witnessed one of the worst flood situations in the last 4 decades. What began as normal monsoon rains took the shape of a severe humanitarian and economic crisis. But was this disaster an isolated episode or linked to a national level crisis? To know that, today we have with us two eminent faculty members of Vision IS, Rajesh Sir and Jayakrishna Sir, who are going to tell us everything about the flooding situation in India with a special focus on Punjab. Hello, sir. So let's begin this conversation with the first basic question. Are there any definition of floods in India? If so, what are floods and different types of floods?
So talking about what is flood. So flood is basically it's called as the sudden and temporary inundation of water. So where the water is not supposed to be, and if the water starts to occupy the land suddenly for a temporary period of time, that is what we call it as floods. So there are different types of floods: riverine flood, coastal flood, urban floods, the floods due to the glacial lake outburst, or even the flash floods. Okay, so all of them have different causes, but in all of them the issue remains the same. Suddenly water starts to occupy everywhere there is water and there is inundation. So talking about the riverine floods, so whenever a river breaches its banks and starts to overflow on both the sides, it causes complete inundation. So on both the sides, causing submergence of land, destruction of property, everything. That is normally called as riverine flood. A riverine flood is a very common phenomena in India. So whether it is the Kosi River or Brahmaputra River, so in most of the times in every year during monsoon time, we keep hearing about this riverine floods. So other than this, flash floods are something which we hear during the time of monsoon. Whenever there is a cloud burst, most commonly we observe this in Himalayas. Even in this year also we observed many such flash flood episodes in Himachal, Uttarakhand. So where suddenly huge amount of water starts to flow into the hilly area, occupying the valleys, causing submergence. So in fact, one of the such severe flash flood happened in 2013, which we all remember as the Kedarnath floods. And so other than that, urban flood is a different scenario. So where the urban regions get flooded. Okay, so mainly due to the mismanagement, and so we keep hearing about this in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, even Chennai, and most of the metropolitan areas. So coastal regions, it's mainly due to the cyclones or storm surge, or in some cases even tsunami also. So which causes sudden inundation of the coastal waters into the low-lying areas. And the last but not the least, in the present times, we keep hearing more about the glacial lake outburst floods. So whenever a glacial lake which is formed due to the moraine damming, okay, so and it breaks, suddenly huge amount of water gets released. And so thanks to climate change, we are going to hear more of this in the coming days.
Thank you, sir. Now, Jayakrishna sir, would like to know more about this particular episode, what happened in Punjab. Floods keep happening, but what were the reasons behind the severity of this particular flood?
Thank you, Mr. Chiranjeet. Thanks for inviting me for this panel. This particular episode where the Punjab has witnessed a great flooding in the past 4 decades, as you mentioned. In fact, Punjab is the land of rivers, and normally the flooding is a common recurring scenario there. But this year, because of not just the natural factors, the man-made factors have aggravated the conditions. We can divide the causes basically into two types, the natural as well as the man-made, also called as anthropogenic factors. As we are seeing the recent global warming episodes, where more and more evapotranspiration is there, huge quantity of moisture is there in the atmosphere. Because of all these scenarios where the recurring of more monsoon means what the average amount of rainfall started increasing, and in fact, whenever you are dividing entire India, we can see normally or traditionally we can say that the eastern part of India normally will be receiving more rainfall. But because of this changing climatic conditions, where right now we are witnessing more rainfall in the western part of India, which is normally a desertified or the low rainfall region. Not only this particular year 2025, even in the past also we have experienced the event like triple dip, like in 2020, 2021, 2022. Even during that point of time also, the northwestern India has witnessed greater amount of rainfall. But this particular 2025, we need to specifically mention here, not just the natural factors are the responsible for the disaster that has occurred recently, it is aggravated by, more enhanced by the human factors. The mismanagement happened. Rivers are there, and the rivers needs to be tamed. Also, the people have already tamed this one, but because of not properly anticipating, where the people started not going for proper checking of the dams, like encroachment things were there, the sand mafia was there, the sand is being illegally mined there. Not only this one, even these bunds that are there along the river channels, where popularly they're called as the Dusi bunds in the in the Punjab region, these bunds got weak. They are of age-old constructions. When these bunds are not being properly monitored, obviously the result has to be like this only. And so, what in my opinion is, this is not just natural; it is more a man-made.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, Rajesh sir told us about the reasons behind the severity of the floods. Would like to know from you the consequences of these floods.
So there is a very famous quote in this context: "The river forgot its bank to remember its power." So basically, so a river is a very powerful agent which carries a huge amount of water with a very high energy. As long as it flows through its channel, so there is a predictability. There is a we are holding its power within the banks. So once it starts to overflow, so it will unleash its power, and all the water and huge amount of sediments which it is carrying will start to spread into a very large area. And Punjab being a totally fertile alluvial plain area, and all the rivers and its tributaries which are coming from Himalayas and all these so Satluj and Bias and the dams which was the dam water which got released from here, so it got spread over a very large area. I've heard that nearly 1400 villages of Punjab got submerged, and all these consequences we can see in different so headings. One is mainly the humanitarian issue. So I've heard that nearly 50 people or more than 50 people have lost their lives, and so a large area due to flooding, due to waterlogging, and so waterborne diseases are going to come up, and it is going to create a huge health crisis. And this is something which is very difficult to overcome, and it creates obviously food shortage, and so various other health related issues in this context. Second, there is a huge economic loss. Punjab is the food basket of India, right? So we have the rice standing crop over there, okay, so and so even cotton and even so various other pulses, and all of them standing crops got submerged, and many of the farmers lost their so harvest which was supposed to happen by September, October. And this is going to create a huge burden on the farmers as well as government, because they have to so compensate the farmers at least in some way. And so as a consequence of flooding, so when the flood water comes and settles down, so in many places it fills the sediments. The fields are getting filled with the sediments, and that will take some time for them to remove it and bring back the normalcy over there. So that is again added cost for the farmers, and the government cost of so rehabilitation, the compensation, relief, and that is going to put some extra burden. Okay, so and this is in the present context of Punjab floods.
Now, sir, floods did affect Punjab, but many other states also affected. Now, if you take this overall scenario of India, what can we do to tackle such crises in the future? Short-term strategies.
Yeah, well, Mr. Chiranjeet. Like, what are the solutions we can bring whenever the flooding conditions are there, right? We can divide the solution into two types, whether it may be the long term or the short term. Basically, what is the need of the area is you need to bring some respite to the people who are living in that areas, right? Basically, the river will be having its own what is called as the river will be having its own path where it will be having a buffer region. It itself will be creating a buffer region. Whenever the excess of water comes, the water spills in that area and creates a plains called as the floodplains. These floodplains are the natural buffers, and the river will be having its own boundary called as the natural levees. Never the river wants to move away from the levees, the natural levees. But whenever the excess of water comes, maybe because of the natural rainfall or maybe the releasing of the water from the dams all of a sudden without any warning, then what happens? The water swells out of the river channel where the natural levees cannot manage the flow of the water. Therefore, the spilling of the water happens. The moment once the spill of the water happens, yet the river wants to manage its conditions in the name of the floodplains that are there by the side of the river channel. These floodplains are very, very important. But what we did in all these time period, as the population is increasing, in want of more and more fertile lands, in want of more food security, as Mr. Rajesh was talking about the floodplain where the deposition of the sediments happens. The very deposition of the sediments is very much needed for the agricultural productivity, where the soils becomes naturally replenished. As the soil is a naturally fertile soil there, man is going there. He is doing all sorts of economic activities. If he is performing only agriculture and if he comes out of that area where the buffer areas can be protected, but what he is doing, he is going for the construction, he is going to settle there. He is going for unplanned constructions. More and more rapid urbanization is happening. Due to this one, the floodplains are not properly managed. When the floodplains are not properly managed, when they are not given proper respect, in order to control all these things, we need to first of all give the respect to the nature. When the man is not paying respect to the nature, obviously nature also won't respect the man.
Correct.
Because of this condition, the floodplains are being encroached due to this one. Whenever the flooding condition happens like this one, you can definitely has to face the heat of the nature. That is one condition. The other solution is, first solution is we need to manage the floodplains where the people needs to be displaced from the floodplain area, and we need to keep as a buffer area, which is called as the restoring of the buffers. The second solution, what can be the other best solution in this one is the catchment area. Whenever the river channels, the streams are coming, like maybe the small stream of river coming and joining into the main river, it's not tributary, so maybe a small seasonal stream. These areas where the channels of the rivers are there, they are not perennial in nature. Whenever the monsoonal season is there, then the water will be flowing with a full volume. After the monsoons, the entire area is a dry area. But what we are doing, we are dumping that area as a municipal garbage. Because of the dumping of the municipal waste, because of dumping of unnecessary material there, the channels get choked. Also, in some of the regions where the wetlands, which are the lake bodies that are there, the lakes bodies are completely occupied by the people. The improper settlements were there, the kacha settlements are there, where the government has not given any permission, yet the encroachment is there. Because of the blocking of these channels, blocking of the wetlands that are present there, obviously the water has no other way but to enter into the city areas, the urban centers. These are the two key areas where the people have to concentration. The third very, very important one, this is called as the monsoon. This is called as the monsoon checklist. Like, every year the people has to clear the silt that is there in the channels, which is called as desiltation. Also, we need to keep all the channels clear of the clear so that the water can come directly to the areas where the tanks can be there, maybe lakes are there. If all these bodies are being filled up with the water, we'll be having the extra mileage of economic development. But what we are doing in the name of economic development, we are stopping all these things, or in the name of beautification of the urban areas, the dumping of the municipal waste in such areas is happening, and thereby resulting into the natural disasters like this one, where the natural disaster is being enhanced by the man-made events. This is how the conditions are happening. The best solution what we have seen in the recent past is one of the the technological innovations that was implemented in the Wuhan city of China, where the concept is called as sponge city. The people started bringing the new technology in managing the urban state of affairs. Not just the Chinese technology like maybe the sponge city, the technology is there even in the Norway also, the sponge roads are also there. Forget about the international issues. We are having domestically, some of the NGOs are there in the down south, especially in the city like Coimbatore of Tamil Nadu, where there is a NGO. These people, they have developed some blocks. What type of blocks? Where the filtration of the rainwater is there at 4 levels, and the entire silt, whatever the litter that is there in the water, the rainwater, all they will be filtered and it will be percolated into the deep interior so that the water table can be recharged. At the same time, whenever there is a drainage water, what is the biggest problem is the clogging. These people have designed the blocks in such a way that where the blocking cannot happen and the water can be filtered and can be stored in the ground level, which is acting as a dual-edged weapon, like in the restoration of the water, recharging of the ground table, at the same time managing of the urban floods. All these are the solutions we can keep in place, and we can involve more and more. Public-private partnership can be brought here, where the NGOs can be asked to play a greater role. Not just the alone. Always, the people are having the attitude like it is the role of the government. The government has to work in, but the major responsibility is there on the citizens. When the citizen he himself acts as a government, then obviously he can find a greater solution for this one.
Correctly said, sir. Now, sir, what else can be done or deployed to tackle flooding situations?
Yeah. So in the short run, if you have to discuss, so we should have a thorough response system. So where first thing is warning. So where we have a clearly centralized warning system to communicate to all the communities which are going to be impacted. Let's say we are talking about the dam management. Best example is Kerala. So in 2018, when the Kerala flood happened, it is due to the mismanagement of the dams and the lack of coordination when there was water release. So that kind of so proper communication has to be there, and that should go as a so warning system for the downstream community. And even in case of urban areas too, in urban areas, so particularly we need to continuously monitor the water levels. So whether it is a lake or a river, so how the water levels are changing, particularly during the monsoon time. So through that we should be able to predict the levels of possibility of flooding, and if there is a chance of flooding, what are the areas which can undergo inundation. So because usually in urban areas, the areas which earlier was a lake bed or where there was a river floodplain, so which over a period of time was abandoned or so construction happened. So those are the areas which are more prone. We need to identify them and then issue a proper so warning system over there. So other than the warning aspect, so relief in case of a flooding. So what are the immediate measures which are required to be taken? Okay, so from the finance to the medical supplies to the emergency food or any kind of so security management, all of this has to be planned before the flooding scenario itself. Okay, the way, so for example, Odisha has done wonderful job in managing the cyclone impact. Okay, so that kind of best practices have to be replicated. And so in addition, so let's say in the long run, so it is mainly managing the anthropogenic factors which have resulted, as sir has added. So in that, so majorly the channel management, the floodplain management, floodplain zoning, and description of the activities, restriction of activities, in fact. So where there is a high prone area, so there the overall the human activity should be restricted, and where the human activities are to be planned, that has to be the most safe zone. So that kind of zoning planation should be there. So yeah, these are some of the so long term as well as short term solutions we can say.
Yeah, I would like to add one more point to
Yes, sir,
our
please.
friend Rajesh. Like, he was talking about the services, right? Something caught in my mind when our friend Rajesh was talking about the services. During the flooding seasons, normally what happens? The critical services get handicapped. Because of the handicapping of these critical services, the people will be having cascading effects. Like the best example, in the case of the flooding somewhere in the Chennai region, Bangalore region, also in the case of Hyderabad, there was a power failure. Because of the power failure, it has got a cascading impact in the hospitals where some of the infant babies died because of lack of power supply. At the same time, oxygen supply is there. This is what the cascading impact. For such conditions, the pre-management is pre-disaster techniques. What needs to be done in the before the disaster? The power supply needs to be restored, like maybe the extra generators needs to be kept. Also, wherever the power houses are there, where the generators are kept, that needs to be flood proofed. Not only this one, you need to have the extra fuel for whenever the lines, electric lines get disrupted, you need to have that extra fuel so that the generator can be working there 24 by 7. The people should not face any other event, just like what I have explained in the case of hospitals. Not only this one, the road communications. Whenever there is a severe flooding, the roads get washed away. And in that case, our army has brought such a wonderful strategy, like, they have started constructing the temporary bridges. The temporary bridges, what happened in the case of 2018 Kerala, once the Kerala flood happened, the people right from Himalayas, they have airlifted the temporary bridge, which can be folded out and it can be implemented, means what, again established, re-established anywhere. This is a mobile technology where the people can carry the materials, the bridges, where the material can be brought there and can be fixed there artificially, and then immediately we can make use of that bridges. Such type of technologies needs to be implemented. At the same time, the other important crisis here is the potable drinking water facility. See the ironic condition, water is everywhere in the case of flooding, but पीने के लिए एक बूंद पानी भी नहीं है. This is what the condition. And so there must be something like mobile water purifiers should be there. The districts in the nook and corners where the people, like in the tribal areas or maybe in some areas where the more children are there, specific care has to be taken towards the children, senior citizens, and also these people like otherwise handicapped people, where they're called as uh, physically handicapped or the destitutes were there, right? These people needs to be taken some extra care so that the cascading impacts can get minimized.
Thank you so much, sir.
One more thing I would like to add to what Sir has said. So that is a proper implementation of our laws as well as rules. So India is a country where we have the best rules and best laws. So the main issue comes with the implementation.
Right.
So we have a proper flood zonation. Okay, so and the river channels are identified. So we have different ways of identifying the floodplains. There is a concept of 5-year floodplain, 10-year floodplain, 50-year floodplain, 100-year floodplain. Even if there is a chance of flooding once in 100 years, there it is still called as a floodplain. And we need to identify the activities which should be allowed. So, but in most of the cases, it is not implemented. You know what happens? Like all of us want a river view apartment, river view resort. Okay, so river view, so front river view restaurants, and all of us want to be there. But we tend to forget that this is not our area to occupy. This is the area of river. We need to respect that. Okay, so Sir was saying if we don't respect the river, river will not respect us, definitely. Okay, so we need a proper implementation. Channel banks, most important. Okay, so in many cases the channels had got weaker. So, but if you see in some parts of Western UP where so British time constructed channels which are very still strong and which are still holding it. It's not the nature of construction, it's the way we have managed it. Where the embankments are very strong and there is a proper vegetation, because so presence of a strong vegetation on the river bank holds the bank strongly. So there the water tends to remain within the channel. Where there is a weakening, where there is excessive extraction of sand and the vegetation has been cut down and illegally occupied by the or slums or any other colonies, or we have dumped the waste, so that will make this entire channels weaker and causes very easily it undergoes flooding.
Right. Now I've discussed different types of solutions and different aspects of solutions, starting from state-specific examples to what we can do for the weak, the destitute. Now, sir, if you try to go beyond what other countries have done, go beyond India, so what are the various global best practices that India can adopt?
I will take the answer here.
Yes.
When it comes to the global initiatives, there are good number of initiatives are there. Like there is a concept here, even we have implemented in India in some of the regions. This is a global initiative, yet we have implemented here. Living with the water. Living with the water is a wonderful concept. Wherever the wetland settlements are there, the people started accommodating they themselves in such areas. Along with this one, there is another concept which is developed in the Western European regions. The what is called as the room for the river. The concept of Netherlands, where the Netherlands is the Dutch region, where it is water submerged region. They are in want of land, and so they were in the they developed the concept called as the room for the river. Not only this one, as I spoke already about the sponge, this is a sponge city where you can find the water percolation, percolating pavements are there. Then you can find some of the areas where you can see the roads are also percolating the water. This is a third such strategy. The fourth such strategy is going for proper implementation of the afforestation programs in the catchment areas. As our friend Rajesh was talking about the proper slope restoration where the trees needs to be there, where the trees, the roots of the trees will be guiding the water to go deep into the interiors, thereby not only anchoring the soil, the tree roots can guide the water to recharge the water table. So afforestation strategy is the best strategy. Under the concepts like REDD and REDD plus, we have seen good number of programs implemented. At the same time, the greater result was also there. Such type of programs needs to be implemented on a large scale. Nowadays, not only these programs like sponge cities, living with the water, then the room for the river, the restoration of the flood banks. Always it is the restoration of the flood bank can be acting as a buffer region and it can accommodate extra water. There must be some elbow room for the river also. Not just we people, we are always in the safer side. We want everything in a safer, more comfortable condition. Even the river should be having an elbow room to accommodate its extra water. Whenever such type of conditions are there, whenever we are providing such type of conditions for the river, obviously all these things will get subsided.
Yes, sir. In fact, even in India also, we have very good examples of a few cases which we can in fact consider as a global best practice. The best example is East Kolkata wetlands. So, where next to Hooghly River in Kolkata, so there is a very large area of wetland which has been made as a natural buffer area, so which accommodates the extra flooding water as well as that treats the sewage, right? So such kind of practices. So definitely it is going to make a lot of difference if this natural wetlands are as well as man-made wetlands are accommodated, right? So as well as if we take the examples of real-time so warning system which was implemented in Mumbai as well as in Kerala, where through so using apps we can communicate through the to the people the real-time levels of water. Okay, so all of this definitely go a long way in bringing resilience towards the flood management.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, dear viewers, I think we have reached the end of this session. So, we started with the scale of the impact, what happened in Punjab. At the same time, we talked at length about the solutions that we can come up with. Because hazards are natural, but disasters are often man-made. You can also share your views and post them as comments. We'll keep coming up with more such sessions. Thank you.